So today we are going to look at how to draw basically graphs of functions or how to determine shapes of functions. Our objective is essentially, our objective here is to draw a graph in 2D, two dimensions. So by that we mean basically, and to be very specific, in Cartesian coordinate. In Cartesian coordinate. And to keep things simple, whatever function we take, it will be of the form y equal to f of x. Okay. So first we'll start with polynomials. We'll proceed in that direction, and all the reasoning that we'll follow, all the rules that we'll look at, they'll be using the differential. So that means whatever function I'm taking, I'm saliently assuming there is obviously an assumption, and the assumption is that f dot is continuously differentiable. Continuously differentiable, because otherwise the method of differentiation will not work. And to be very correct, it's like that in the interval of x in which we are going to draw the function, in that we are assuming that the function is continuously differentiable. Okay. So it's obviously that if it is discontinuous or continuous but with a kink, then drawing the function, the method of drawing the function is slightly different. But anyways, here we are concentrating on the differential. So if I have some y equal to fx, obviously my first concentration point is to find f dash x. Okay, now f dash x can have possibly three values. So f dash x is basically also the slope. Okay, so now f dash x can have three values. Number one is it can be positive, in which case we say that the function is increasing in x. Then it can be 0. In that case we have to go further. And why we have to go further? Because 0, having f dash x equal to 0, can imply two things. On one hand, it can mean that it is maxima or minima, or else. And the other thing is that it is a constant function. So if f dash x is equal to 0, we have two possibilities. Either the function looks like this, fx equal to c, and that we can understand simply by integrating. And the other is that go to f dash x. Okay. Because otherwise we cannot comment. The third possibility is obviously negative, in which case we say that it is decreasing in x. So there are three possibilities. Okay, so now we are going to take each possibilities in turn, and then we will explore what happens to the second order. Okay, so before going into that, first let us just write that if f dash x is equal to 0, one possibility, note that we are writing one possibility because there are other possibilities as well. So one possibility is f dash x equal to fx equal to c. So which will look like If this is C, then this x 0 and fx. So this is one type, the constant function. Okay. Now, if f dash x is less than 0, then we have at least f dash x less than 0 in an interval. Let me put it like that. In an interval of x, then in that interval of x, I have three possibilities. I can have a straight line, I can have something like this, or I can have something like this. Okay, now this is obviously, let me just write, this is obviously a straight line. Okay, this one is called a concave function. Here the most important term before we even start drawing this is an interval of x. So by that, what I mean is that beyond this interval of x, again the shape of fx might change. Okay, so that possibility is there. But for the time being, since we are going part by part, we are concentrating on if f dash x less than 0. So what happens then? So this is the shape of a concave function, and this obviously is a convex function. Now there is a slight modification to it. The modification is this. Think of the function. Let me say this is my curve D, this is D1, and this is D2. So observe this. If I compare D1 and D2, they are symmetrically opposite, right? So it is as if D1 is flipped around D and we got D2. Okay, so let me just say that, just to make a note, that D1 and D2 are symmetrically opposite with respect to D. Okay. So that means what? That means if I'm looking from O, then D2 is convex and D1 is concave. But let me just say that if I had an axis here, and if I write some O dash here, okay, if I write some O dash here, then from this direction, if we look at, D1 becomes a convex function and D2 becomes a concave function. So just to say it again, from O, D2 is convex, D1 is concave, but from O dash, D1 is convex and D2 is concave. So how to distinguish between them? How to say that if I'm saying that D2 is convex function, I'm looking from the direction of O. How to distinguish that? For that, we say that D2 is convex to origin and D1 is concave to origin. So these are the things that we say. D2 is convex to origin, D1 is concave to origin. But then again, as you can see, that if we go by first differential, concave or convex to origins, is this interpretation of two origin is basically that f dash x less than 0. Okay. Now we said that we are going to go in terms of differential. So what is the meaning of convex and concave in terms of differential? So let us explore the possibility of second order. So given f dash x less than 0, find f double dash x, second order. Now for second order also, we have three possibilities. Number one is positive. Positive. That means increasing in fx, increasing in f dash x. What does this mean? This means the function is convex. This means the function is convex. And if I have 0, then again there are two possibilities. Possibility number one is that it can be a straight line. So there is this possibility. For example, d is one such function for which f dash x is 0. So as for example d. But the point is that d is not the only possibility that we have. So much like f dash x equal to 0, we have another idea of going further. Okay. And there is obviously this possibility of f dash x being negative, f double dash x being negative. And for that, we have concave function. Concave function. So this is convex function. This is concave function. It can be a straight line, or you have to go for further. That is third derivative of f. Further means next differential. Okay, now let us just stop here and look at this. So if, so here we are having a concave function, a convex function, and a straight line, and in all of them, f dash x less than 0. So let us first draw the shape of the function in which f dash x is positive. Now just to say that when f dash x is positive, the result coming from f double dash x, it doesn't change. Okay, but obviously the shapes will be different. So let's look at them. So what happens if f dash x is positive? Okay. So when f dash x is positive, again we have three ideas. Here this is, let's say, S. Then we have this one, which is, let's say, S1, and this one, which is S2. So S is a straight line. That means here, although f dash x is positive, we have f double dash x equal to 0. Okay, now this one is convex, but then again it is called convex outward. Convex outward. So for this, f double dash x is positive. This is concave outward, or it can well, we can write this also, which is slightly better than writing outward. Convex with respect to x-axis. This is far better. Convex with respect to x-axis, and this is concave again with respect to x-axis. So for this one, f double dash x is negative. Okay, so these are the possibilities. So we have explored many possibilities, but we have also not explored some of them. So let's go into that. Okay. Now, before involving into that, let's just enumerate our results. So we said that f dash x greater than 0 means increasing, f dash x less than 0 means decreasing, f dash x 0 means constant or go further. Okay. And then we have these f dash x less than 0 as concave, depending on whether it is towards origin or it is with respect to x-axis. That depends on whether it is increasing or decreasing. And then we have f dash x positive, which is convex. Also, we have f dash x equal to 0, which may lead us back to straight line or go further. Okay. So now, before going in that direction, go further. Okay. And we have explored the shapes of this one and this one, and the straight line scenario, increasing, decreasing, and constant function. This scenario, constant function. So now, let's look into some other possibilities. For example, we know that when you are evaluating f dash x equal to 0, when you are getting f dash x equal to 0 at some x equal to x star, what we are looking at? We are looking at either maxima or minima or, again, let's say go further. Okay, now, given that f dash x equal to 0 means fx equal to c, this is one possibility. Okay, what you are saying that at this 3 points, the function, as if the function comes to a halt and then it changes. Okay, so these are sort of halt points. Right? In terms of geometry, we talk about tangents, but let's just verbally, intuitively understand about that at x equal to x star, it suddenly stops. Its change stops in the sense of that, not the function stops there, but its change of slope suddenly stops there and then it changes again. Okay, now given that, so f dash x equal to 0, given this, we can have three possibilities. So possibility 1 is f double dash x is less than 0. So if we have both of this, we have a maxima. And if we have f double dash x greater than 0, then we have a minima. What if we have f dash x equal to 0? So then we have a scenario of go further. And the fun part is that when I'm in this case, that is f dash x equal to 0, and then I'm getting f double dash equal to 0, then this go further is basically talking about the last case. Otherwise, we know that in this go further, that is when f dash x equal to 0 is known to us, then we have three possibilities: maxima, minima, and go further. So we'll approach this go further in the end. But for the time being, in terms of maxima or minima, or let's say go further, f dash x equal to 0 is a necessary condition. So what do you mean by a necessary condition? That means, this basically means that if I have maxima, then it implies that f dash x equal to 0. But if I have f dash x equal to 0, then this doesn't imply that it's a maxima. And why is that? Because we know that for f dash equal to 0, we have three possibilities. So If we start with f dash x equal to 0, we can't be able to tell about whether we are talking about maxima or minima or something else. Okay, but if it is maxima, then obviously f dash x equal to 0. And because of that, if double dash x less than 0 is the sufficient condition for maxima. Okay, because for that, if f dash x less than 0, then only we can decide that apart from f dash x equal to 0, if we have this one also, then only we can decide that it's a maxima. So we can have, after finding f dash x, remember only after f dash x equal to 0, if I find f dash x less than 0, then I can say, okay, then it is a maxima. Okay, but obviously in a maxima, if my idea of continuously differentiable is gone, then finding the maxima is an altogether different task. So that's why I say that at the very first point, we have assumed that my f is continuously differentiable. And that is a very important, that is the important background or premise for all of this discussion. Okay. All right. So from here, we get what a maxima is and how to find it. So we need f dash x equal to 0, and we need f double dash x less than 0. Okay. So let us draw a function where we have in that specific interval maxima. Okay. So let's say my function looks like this. So this is a big U, and let's say this is my fx, right? Oh, sorry. We are talking about maxima, sorry. So we have to take inverted U. So this is my fx. Now, if I look for the first differential, then I have three scenarios. Right? So let me just draw a tangent. And at this point, so this is if this is some A, then on the left side of it, I have f dash x greater than 0. So this is increasing. On the right side of it, I have f dash x less than 0. So this is decreasing. And on A, where this f dash x suddenly stops and change, at A I have f dash x equal to 0. Now if I look at, now if I have to go further. So for this one, if I look up for f dash x, if we remember the shape of concave and convex function, then that's where the graph helps. If we remember the shape of concave and convex function, then from our memory, we can see that this up to, if this is O, not O, sorry, this is B and this is B dash. So B to A, if I say BA, so in BA I have, this is concave with respect to x-axis. Okay, so this is f dash x less than 0 here. And from, so for AB dash, this is also concave, but towards origin. So, but this is concave anyway, right? But concave towards origin. So here also f dash x equal to 0. So what is the difference? The difference is that from B to A, I have concavity towards x-axis. From A to B dash, I have concavity towards origin. But here I see that that's how, given the knowledge of everything that we have, we can say that how the function is shaped. Now, this one is f dash x less than 0. This one is also f dash x less than 0. So what are the options that I have in A? So in A, I see that definitely this is not at a f dash x positive. There is no scope because from negative to positive, I need to have some point where it is 0. But if it is 0, then but here this is not 0. So what is this? So just think in this way. From B to A, I had f dash x negative. From A to B dash also I have f dash x negative. Okay. So one possibility is that here, so here it reached 0. Can it do that? Can it reach 0? Okay. So can it reach 0 and again become negative? But at this point, it is also the fact that f dash x is less than 0, because from the diagram, we know that this is we can argue because from observation we know that this is the maximum point. And in maxima, as we observe, that f dash x equal to 0. So by that we know that in the entire graph BB dash, f dash x is less than 0. So that's how we complete our work. Okay. So that's how we draw the graph. So this is how it looks. Similarly, we can have a graph for minima as well. It will be the U-shaped graph that I have drawn earlier. So let's look at that now. Okay. So here I have again, this is f dash x less than 0. This is f dash x greater than 0. This is increasing, right? And this is decreasing. Here I have f double dash x positive. Here I have f double dash x positive. And at A, not only I have f dash x equal to 0, but I also have f double dash x positive. And that tells me that this is a minima or minimum, to be correct. So from the point of view of a minimum, I have f dash x equal to 0 as the necessary condition, and f double dash x equal to 0, sorry, f double dash x positive is as the sufficient condition. On the left side, I have convex to origin, and here on the right side I have convex towards x-axis. Now, let us ask a very simple question. The simple question is that, can a function be both convex and concave? Can it be like that? Well, the answer is yes, that it can be. But before going into that details, let us not forget that there is a case where if double dash x equal to 0 and it is not straight line. So this is not straight line. So what is it then? How do I get that? So in go further, what we do is, here we go for f triple dash x, and we just check whether it is non-zero or not. So if it is 0, then obviously we have to explore other possibilities, and for our purpose, let us just, we are going to stop at the triple derivative. So if the triple derivative is non-zero, then we have what we call as inflection point. Inflection point. So what is inflection point? what is inflection point. So first of all, inflection point, right, like this, it is a point where curvature is changed. That is, the curve becomes either convex to concave or concave to convex. So the curve can have both of these possibilities. Let us check both of them. Okay. So here on the right side column of ours, we can write, or in go further, now we have or f triple dash x non-zero, which will give me inflection point. Inflection point. Okay, so let's look at let's take a graph. Now for this one, let us write like this. Yeah. So let's say this is my graph. This is my f. Now for this one, we can see that obviously if it starts from 0, then the minimum is at 0. But here, this minimum point, it's a boundary point. So at the boundary point, our idea of derivatives will not really work. For that, we have to go in a different way. Anyways, so let's forget this for the time being, because we are in derivatives. We are in the rules of differentiation. Right? Now look at this. We have a scenario where, okay, let me just draw this a little bit more like this. Yes. So let's say the function behaves like this. So at this point, if it is some x star, then this is also our maxima within the interval. Okay, now here we have a scenario where the function, as you can see, is initially concave and then it is convex. Now, in concave, we know that if double dash x is less than 0. In convex, it is if double dash x is positive in convex. So that means in between there is a point where f double dash x actually becomes 0. What is that point? This is, let's say, this is the point. How do we find that point? The rule is very simple if we go by geometry, that it is a one-liner. Tangent becomes the curve. So that means if I want to draw a tangent at this point, I'll be able to see it, right? It will be like this. And here also I can draw it and it will go like this. But take this point, for example, take this point. If I draw a tangent here, it will be like this. So it is hard to segregate the tangent from the curve. And let's just say this point is x1. So this is our inflection point. One of the real life example of inflection point is when someone is in the sports of skiing, okay, in the sports of skiing, when the player is starting to ski from a top, there is a point where it's the paddle, or so to say, whatever the sportsman is on, that doesn't touch the point, or there is a point at which if the player touches the point, then he will topple for sure. So that point is basically the inflection point where it suddenly becomes a straight line. So we are talking about this kind of thing. Now here is this point, let's say this is inflection point where you say again the tangent becomes the curve, and here what happens is that if you touch here, then it will topple for sure. Okay, because suddenly here it behaves like a straight line. So straight line means you are like this. Okay, but it's obviously around a very small portion of the point. That's how it works. Okay, so this is a curve where I have the second case, that concave going into convex. Just to say, we can have the other case also. Let me just draw the curve here in a sort of miniature form. So what will that be? That will be this. So here is some point where you have the inflection point. Okay, where around the point it's as if the curve becomes a straight line going from convex to concave. Now, oh no, not really up to the, yeah. For both of it is concave. This is again a point of maximum. But so to say, it is concave. Yeah, okay. So this is a function which is going from convex to concave. Okay. So these are the possibilities of curves that we have following the sign of derivatives. And we also have seen the possible shapes that it can take. So we started from a constant function. Just to list it, we started from a constant function. Then we moved to a straight line, which is increasing or decreasing. And then we extended it to convex and concave, which are graphs. So convex and concave, either it is to the origin or with respect to the x-axis. It can also be with respect to the y-axis. Then we moved on to a curve which is at the same time convex and concave. And there we have the inflection point. So this is how we do it. So now we can connect the differential with the shape. So given a function, we'll look for the differentials, and from that we'll have the idea of the shape, and with that idea we'll draw it. Okay. So for the time being, let us just take a quadratic function. So y equal to a naught plus a1 plus a2 x square. Sorry, a1x plus a2 x square. So this is a quadratic. Okay. Now here we have the construction, our coordinate. So now at x equals to 0, y equals to a naught. So if a naught is positive, then let's say this is my a naught. Okay. So at x equal to 0, this is my y. So let's just say that this is some y naught. Okay. So we have one assumption, that is a naught greater than 0. Okay, now let us go to the first differentiation. So f dash x is equal to a1 plus 2a2x. Okay. So here I have all the possibilities, positive, negative, or 0. So let's first explore f dash x equal to 0. So f dash x equal to 0 implies that a1 plus 2a2x equal to 0, which means that x equals to basically minus a1 by 2a2. Okay. So minus a1 by 2a2. Now, we can have a1 or a2 if we have any one of them, that is either a1 or a2 being negative, then this becomes a positive number. Or if I take a1 and a2 both negative or both positive, then this becomes a negative number. Okay. So for our help, since we want f dash x equal to 0 at x at positive x, assume a2 negative. Okay, so let us write that a2 negative. Remember, there is no harm in assuming a1 also as negative, but that will just change the scenario of it. Okay, so if a2 is negative, this is positive. But then again, since it is 0, we have to go further. So let's go further. So let's look for f double dash x. Now f double dash x tells me that it is simply 2a2. So given a2 is negative, 2a2 is negative. So that means at x equal to minus a1 by 2a2, we are looking at a maxima. Okay, so we are looking at a maxima. So since it is positive, let's say this is my a1 by 2a2. And we have a maximum point here. Let's say this is some a. Okay, now what happens at the other points? Okay, let's see that. So first, what we must understand is that, see, this is negative, right? And not only this is negative, f double dash x doesn't contain any x. So that's something. Okay, so no x here. No x. Okay. All right. So let's do like that. X greater than or equal to minus a1 to a2, which implies that 2a2x greater than or equal to minus a1, which will say that a1 plus 2a2x greater than or less than 0. Now a1 plus 2a2x is our f dash x. So f dash x greater than or equal to, greater than or less than 0. What does this mean? We started from here, then we went here, and then we got this result. This means that, so how to write that? This means when x is greater than minus 1 by 2a2, remember this is a positive number. So when x1 is greater than, strictly greater than minus 1 by 2a2, then we have f dash x to be positive. Yeah. Okay. So when x is greater than minus a1, a2, remember as I said that this is a positive number, right? So now here we have taken a1 by 2a2. We have ignored the sign. That's not really a anyways. But so if I go using this, if I take this sign, uh, since I've ignored the sign, I should now have. So this I must write this minus of a1 by 2a2. So anyway, so when x is greater than this, then I have f dash x to be positive. Okay. So now if I ignore the minus sign, I mean, sorry, if I take into account the minus sign, then basically I'm saying that in this zone, f dash x is positive, right? Okay, because this is greater than this, so we are in here. Okay, so in this, f dash x is positively sloped, and obviously after this, f dash x is negatively sloped. Okay, because if I get one side right, and if I have a maxima, then the opposite side, we can say that it's symmetrically opposite, it's going down, because otherwise this is not a maxima. Okay, and we have f double dash x less than 0. So that means what? That means this is going concave here, and then concave here again. Okay, so this is how, and at a we have a maxima. So this is how we have drawn a quadratic. But there is only there are two things to remember, that we have also these two constraints, that a naught greater than 0 and a2 less than 0. Okay, and depending on how a naught and a2 change, the curve basically will shift around these four quadrants. So in this way, we can draw a cubic function and so on. Okay, so just to give you the graph of a cubic function. So if I add, okay, so if I add another component plus a cube x cube, I can have a cubic function also as drawn. But in case of a cubic function, obviously you can understand that I have this possibility of f double dash x equal to 0 at some x, where f triple dash x is not equal to 0. Okay, so just let's look at the sample curve. So remember, how do we find it? We first went for the first order. We found if there is any maxima or minima, and then we found at what range of x it's increasing or decreasing. That is, the slope is positive and negative, and then we simply drawn the curve, taking together the value of first order and second order. Obviously, when you have a curve where the constants are numbers, then drawing it becomes very simple. But in case we do have unknown constants, depending on the range or the values that constant possibly take, the shapes change or shift. Okay, so to give you a standard cubic function, let's say it may go like this, where I have, this is my a naught, and here you can see that this is a maxima, this is a minima, and here you have one inflection point. Okay, so this is how we draw polynomials or other curves using the idea of derivatives. Now, drawing polynomial is a bit difficult, in the sense that you have to go through all of this. But there are typical functions, the shape of which are which do not really vary that much when we vary the constant. So let us look at them. The first example to that is a function which is called a rectangular hyperbola. Okay, let me just erase all of this. Remember one thing, that when you are dealing with these special shapes, there also obviously we can apply the idea of derivatives, and you can find how they look or how their graphs are. But they are famous because of their special shapes, and we call them according to their name. So, for example, the first one is rectangular hyperbola. The idea of this curve is very simple. It's basically variables multiplied equals to a constant. So in 2D, we can have x into y equal to k, where obviously k is some constant. Sometimes we write this as y equal to k by x to have a more f of x equal to k by x kind of a writing. But the idea is simple. The idea is that there are two variables. In 2D, if we have, there are two variables. If we multiply them, this is a constant. Now let's first look at the shape of this. And then we will discuss why it is a rectangular hyperbola. So this is how it goes. With the knowledge of advanced mathematics, we can use terms like these two are asymptotes. Terms like asymptotes here also and here also. So basically, the idea is that for rectangular hyperbola, x and y, they become tangent only at infinity. So anyway, so we have an added idea of asymptotes here, but that has currently that has nothing to do with drawing this function. So why it is rectangular? Because this is two variables multiplied, right? So if I multiply two variables and if I interpret x as the height of a rectangle and this as a width of a rectangle, we can always do that. Basically, any multiplication of two numbers can be interpreted as the area of a rectangle with this x and y. So the area is basically xy, and that is constant, which is equal to k. Now take an x and y. So take the point A. So this is x1 and this is y1. So this area is k. Now take again another sum b. Okay, let's say this point is b. So here is x2 and y2. So the area under x2, y2 is also same, which is k. It is called rectangular hyperbola because if you take any rectangle which can be drawn based on a point which is on the curve, the area of that rectangle will always be same. It will be k. So this is why it is called a rectangular hyperbola, and its shape is this. Remember, when you are drawing it, that never let this touch this axis because they do not touch. That's the idea. Okay, so it never touches the axis. The moment you make it touch the axis, you have drawn something else. It never touches x or y axis. The idea of asymptote is related to this. Okay, so this is how a rectangular hyperbola looks like, and from this phenomenon, from this character or feature, it has its name. The other two are pretty simple. So in 2, we have exponential function. And we have two variants of that. So we can have y equal to b to the power x, or the famous ones, that is, we can have y equal to e to the power x, or y equal to e to the power minus x. Okay. Now if we draw this, so let us draw the first one. Its shape is basically this. So this is my y equal to b to the power x, where b is greater than 1. Okay. And if we look for this two also, okay, this one is convex, and sometimes we call it actually divergent. Okay. It's not that this one is not convex, this one is also convex, but the shape is slightly different. basically kind of it's symmetrically opposite, so we call it convergent. So how they both look? The divergent d to the power x will look like this. It will be similar to this. Obviously, given the fact that in case of this one, I have at x equal to 0, y equal to 1, right? Y equal to 1. So for e to the power x, this will become simply 1, this point. Okay. And for e to the power minus x also, if you can see that this will be y equal to 1, but there is a difference. The difference is that for the left, this function, it goes like this. So this is my 1, let's say. And for the other one, it goes like this. So here, this will be 1. Right? Yeah. Okay. So this is divergent, this is convergent. Anyways, we have the last one, which is obviously, which comes in our mind whenever we write exponential. And that is logarithmic function. Which can be of two types. One is y equal to log x, for which we consider the base to be 10. And there is something called y equal to ln x, where the base is equal to e. This ln is natural log. Okay. In general, we have y equal to log x to the base a. And this function will go like this. So here I have increasing and concave. And for the earlier case, we had convex, and it became increasing or decreasing according to e to the power x or e to the power minus x. Okay. So these are the kinds of function that we have in proper. And as we see that even here, if we apply the idea of derivatives, obviously they will hold true. For example, just to show, if we go with y equal to e to the power x, you keep on differentiating, doesn't matter f dash x or f double dash x, so on and so forth. It is e to the power x itself. For e to the power minus x, however, we have the interesting phenomenon of f dash x becoming minus e to the power minus x, and then again f double dash x becoming e to the power minus x, as this minus will cancel out. Okay. So it will go on like this. For this one, we have f dash x as 1 by x, and f double dash x we have minus 1 by x square, which tells me that definitely it's a concave function. Okay. But to end, we must always remember the first important premise, that we assumes the continuous differentiability. And obviously, since we moved up to third order, we actually saliently assume that these functions are continuously differentiable up to third order. Whenever this breaks down, we have to go to other methods. But in most of the cases, we actually work with curves which some kind of possess this property, which makes our job a lot simpler.